Hi, and we are live a few minutes late. We are live a few minutes late because of some technical challenges that sometimes happen, but we're here. So if you were waiting for us, thank you for being here and joining this BeLegendary Fireside Chat, another one. And we are here to share another story, an experience, challenge, wisdom, golden nuggets of wisdom of legendary women, such as my guest today, Karen. Karen, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thanks for having me. It feels like you're stacking up a really high expectation, but thank you.
It's not high expectation, it's the truth. I believe that we are all legendary leaders in some way in our lives. That's my true belief. And I met Karen, sorry. I met Karen, was it in July 2021? I think we met. Hey, I think it
Yeah,
was in 2021, right?
yeah.
And we worked together for a couple of months. And then we have been connecting, just saying, hi, how are you? And connecting together. And I've been following Karen's journey over these years. And I thought she would be an amazing guest to this chat, this conversation. So, Karen, let us know a bit about your career journey. What have you been doing? Where everything started? So you can share with our audience.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of fell into a career in leadership. So I was the little girl who knew exactly what I wanted to do. When I was four
Wow.
years old, I was given a blackboard for my fourth birthday. And from that moment, I wanted to be a teacher. And I
Mm.
played with my blackboard all the time, and I used to play school with my dolls, and I wanted to be a teacher, and nothing else ever came into the equation. And when I was at uni, I did Spanish, and I wanted to be a Spanish teacher. But in Northern
Huh?
Ireland at the time, the qualification that you have to do to convert to become a teacher was really, really oversubscribed. So in the third year of my degree, I got the opportunity to go and live in Spain, and I could teach English or I could have gone to uni. And I thought, well, I'm going to go and teach English. That'll be great for my CV. It'll really help me, apply to go on the PGCE course. And I went and taught English for a year, and I realized that teaching wasn't for me. Um, and I think that, when I look back, I was really shy and quiet back then, which nobody ever believes now because I don't think I stop talking very often these days. But yeah, so I came back. And I look back now, and I think it's really funny because I was only 22 and I had a complete crisis.
Ah,
Like, what do I want? What am I going to do now? Teaching's all I've ever wanted to do. And I was graduating into the recession as well. So it was really tough, and I didn't know
yeah.
what I wanted to do. So me being me, I had plans upon plans upon plans. So I applied for some graduate courses. I applied to do a master's and applied for a scholarship to do my master's, which I was told, I had a snowball's chance in hell of getting. And I applied to do a PGCE in England, just as a backup option. And I ended up getting the scholarship to do my master's. So I kind of kicked the can down the road for a while, and I thought, right, I'll go back to uni for another year. I'll do my master's. That gives me some more thinking time. And at the same time, I got a part-time job doing some admin in a training center. And I just had the privilege of having a really brilliant leader in that
Mm.
organization who kind of spotted my potential and who gave me development opportunities and promoted me really quickly. So from, within the first, I think I worked there for 2 or 3 years, and I was promoted 3 times, and I was given a lot of responsibility, and I went from being like the admin assistant to running the regional program.
Wow.
And then I decided for personal reasons to move to England for a while. So myself and my husband took off to England, and I had some great opportunities to work in some charities there, some of the big national charities. One of which was Teach First, where again I had loads of opportunity to do leadership development and to support loads of other people with their leadership. And I loved working at Teach First, and I really wasn't ready to leave when I did. But unfortunately, someone in my family got really sick, and I decided to move back to Northern Ireland to be closer to my family. And so I applied for a job just to get me across to Northern Ireland. It was supposed to be a kind of an interim job at the British Council. And 8 years later, I was still there. I was given loads of opportunities to work on some really exciting projects. I had opportunities to do global roles, working with teams all across the world. I just had some really, brilliant opportunities. But 8 years in, decided, it was time for a change, and there was a lot of restructuring going on in the organisation. And I thought, right, it's time to look for a new opportunity. And so, I saw my current role, and it was really funny because my friends will always say to me, if we're going out to eat, I'm always the one kind of going, oh, we need to check the food hygiene rating. What's on the door? We don't want to eat anywhere where the food hygiene rating's not good. So when I saw the job advertised, I sent it to some friends and I said, look, this job opportunity's come up. It looks really good. And they said to me, if you don't get that job, it's their recruitment processes that are broken. It's nothing to do with you. So luckily my hiring manager agreed, and 18 months later, I'm still here and still enjoying myself.
Wow, what a journey. And it's very interesting that you always knew that you wanted to be a teacher. And then once you had that opportunity, just realized, actually, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Where do you think you got that dream? Just wanted to be a teacher?
Yeah, I guess growing up, education was really important to my family. Both my parents kind of had to, they didn't necessarily come from backgrounds where education opportunities were just handed to them. And so they both really valued education. And I guess by personality, I'm just somebody who loves to learn. I'm somebody who loves to read, who's just interested in things. So yeah, I just want to teach. And actually, I'm still really passionate about education, throughout my career until my current job. I always worked in education. I've always worked in education portfolios. I've always worked supporting teachers or supporting young people who don't get education opportunities. So I definitely, that's something that I love doing and is really important to me. And even in my current job, it's I work for the Food Standards Agency, but a big part of my portfolio is about, supporting the people who go out and do food inspections to make sure that they're qualified and competent and things like that. So that learning and development piece is really, really important to me.
Yeah, it's keeping the options broader, right? Because you were really focused on the teaching part, but there were so many other options, and then you found it's still in education, but it's a completely different path.
Yeah, and one that's more suited to my personality. I think, as I said, I had a really brilliant leader in my first kind of career job out of uni, and she spotted that I just kind of had a natural affinity for project management. And so, that set me down a specific path. And she was right, that's what I love doing. I love spinning plates and juggling tasks and bringing teams together to do things. So, yeah.
And that just shows how one person, one leader can make such a huge difference in someone else's career.
Yeah. And, I was thinking about this last night as I was preparing for our chat, and I was just thinking I've been so privileged throughout my career with extraordinary leaders. I just have had a sequence of really brilliant men and women who have led me, and I've been so privileged to learn from them all. So I always say, if I can be half the example or half the inspiration to anybody who I lead as others have been to me, I'd be really lucky.
And if you look at all those leaders, what were the key things that you took from them, that you learned from them, that now help you as well as a leader?
Oh, that's a really good question.
It's a difficult one, but important.
So I think the thing that all of the brilliant leaders that I've had have in common is they really get to know you. They listen to you. They understand your strengths and weaknesses. and they give you opportunities to fly. And so they know, being given an opportunity to fly, I think about some of the leaders I've had who maybe haven't been so good, and they talk about, people can talk about empowering you and giving you autonomy, but actually sometimes you need supervision and support. So giving somebody their wings to fly doesn't always mean leaving them to get on with something and do it themselves. So I think the really brilliant leaders that I've had have been able to strike that balance of when to know to let me just get on and do something and be creative and deliver results, and identifying when I'm in a stretch development opportunity and when they need to do that supervision and support and coaching and mentoring. And yeah, I think, the really big thing to me is somebody who makes you feel valued. Like, that's somebody who sees you as an individual and who appreciates your contributions, is a really big thing for me. And I think the other thing that they've probably all had in common is they've all really modeled good work-life balance and a healthy approach to work and well-being, and kind of, being your best self by not burning yourself out and by not giving too much to your work. And that's been a really hard lesson that I've learned, but also one that I really appreciate, because I think I'm much better at doing that now.
Yeah, I guess it's the balance between, so a couple of things I heard from you in terms of what you got from those leaders is actually giving you the autonomy and the wings, as you say, to fly, but also support you in the journey, and sometimes give you some of the guidance, because we don't know things, right? We don't know everything. And having that leader behind us that gives us the wings, help us, and just say, go, go, but I'm here, and this is some of my guidance. That's part of a good leadership as well. And at the same time, is being a role model. And in one of the things is being a role model that you don't need to burn out, basically, to be excellent in what you do.
Yeah, and I think one of my, I remember having a conversation with one of my managers who kind of said, a company buys your skills and expertise from you. And so, if you're contracted to work 40 hours, you shouldn't have to work 60 hours to do your job, And I think that for me, there's a really clear balance to strike. I think most people work at their best when they're just a tiny bit too busy. That's where I always see people, thriving in a role, but that can quickly go one way or the other. Yeah. So I think for me, I always kind of challenge my staff to have, to write themselves stretching deliverables and to shape their roles, but to be really clear that, to challenge themselves about, are they working efficiently and effectively, and to challenge the way we do things. So are our processes optimal, or, are our processes creating unnecessary work? Is our governance, is our decision making good, or, is the management chain creating unnecessary steps for you? And I always try to create a space where my teams can tell me if they think something's not working. But actually, if people are working efficiently, and if, the organization around them is working effectively as well, people should be able to do a good job in their contracted hours. And I always start, any line management relationship by kind of saying to people, I'm not somebody who's impressed by you working 20 or 30 hours a week extra. That to me doesn't say you're overly committed. That to me says that you're not managing your workload effectively. And if you've got too much work, we've got to have a conversation about that. So I think that part about having, I always say my vision for my work is to have a happy, healthy, and high performing team.
Yeah.
And that the healthy bit's really, really important to me.
It is important. And having those boundaries and expectations set at the beginning of the relationship, I think it's really important. So they already know that they don't need to burn out, and they can count on you to support in the journey wherever they need. But I believe that, and maybe in your case as well, that you had some experience where you worked at, I don't know, some organizations or with some leaders where that did not happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it still happens. Sometimes organizations have unrealistic expectations or demands, or, sometimes people who are more senior than you don't understand what a specific task takes. And so, you know, they can say, you know, why is it going to take you 12 months to deliver that project? Why can't you do it faster? And sometimes it's just about walking people through and understanding, well, these are the component parts of what we have to do, and this is why it's going to take 12 months. But, you know, if you give me 5 more people, I can do it faster. Or, you know, if you give me more budget, I can do it faster. But other times it's you know, that's just how long it's going to take, because, you know, we have to go through external processes that, you know, take 6 months or whatever it might be. So I think for me, it's really distinguishing about where is the pressure external? So where is that pressure coming from, you know, a board or an executive team or a senior leader? And where is that pressure actually coming from my own expectations of myself? Mm-hmm. And I think probably the biggest lesson I've had to learn in my career is that sometimes good enough is good enough. And my personality kind of always strives towards
perfection.
Yeah. And again, you know, I had another really brilliant leader at Teach First who taught me to strive for excellence and not perfection. And I think that framing of things really helped me. But actually, the more senior I've got, I guess I've really realized that sometimes you only have the resource to have the minimum viable product, or sometimes you only have the budget to do a good enough job. And it's about really making those decisions around, does this need to be gold plated? Does this need to be done really, really well? Or is good enough good enough? And kind of going through that thought process is something that you can do. But I think from my own perspective, I really challenge myself, you know, when I'm feeling stressed or when I'm feeling burnt out now, I do really challenge myself to say, am I doing the things that I need to do to manage my own stress and to manage my own well-being? Am I working as efficiently and productively as I can? And if the answer to both of those things is yes, then it's an open and honest conversation with my line manager to say, I've got too much work on and you need to help me. And I think being able to go through that thought process for myself in my own head, I can then articulate to my boss and say, well, you know, here are all the things I'm doing to keep myself healthy. Here's all the challenge I've given myself to make sure that I'm working as efficiently and productively as I can. But actually, these are the pieces of work that I have to deliver. This is how I'm prioritizing them. Is that how you're prioritizing them? And are you content for me to stop doing something or to slow something down? And sometimes the answer to that is no. And yes, again, because I'm in a senior leadership position now, sometimes I know that my answer is no. But I think then it's about, well, what do I need to deliver? And sometimes that's more people. Sometimes it's more budget. Sometimes it's, you know, to do things in a slightly different way. But for me, it's about having those really honest conversations with yourself, but also with the people around you at work.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yes, it's understanding what's most important in each specific situation. And as you say, and sometimes that what is missing in most of work relationships is having those honest conversations. Yeah. And as a leader, you need to listen. Really need listen and understand the other side as well. And when we present something like that to our own leaders, again, we also need to understand their side and find the solution together. So those honest conversations are really important.
Yeah. And I guess that's one of the things that I'm not great with hierarchy, and that, you know, that it doesn't mean that I kind of don't respect that people are more senior than me. But what I always say to my team is, just because I'm paid more than you doesn't mean that I always have the best ideas or that I always have the best solutions or know the best thing to do. So I always try to make it so that my team, regardless of what grade they are in the organization, feel that they can come to me with ideas or, you know, suggestions, or even just to talk through problems and get an alternative steer on it. And I guess, you know, I feel like I do that pretty successfully, and my team give me good feedback in that space. And, you know, it's not about me always having the answers, but I always try to be really careful when people do approach me in that way, because, you know, I think everybody's probably been on the receiving end, or where they've given somebody some feedback or had a suggestion or had an idea, and somebody's closed them down really quickly. So I always try to be really sensitive. If I do have to close an idea down, I try to be sensitive in how I do that. But, you know, if it's a good idea, again, sometimes it's making that space for people to be innovative and just to run with their idea. And I've been able to do that for a few people and seen some really brilliant results come out of it, or, you know, see people win awards from it and things like that. So yeah, I think it's important to do that for people.
What would you say it's your biggest challenge as a leader?
Oh, I think my biggest challenge is probably carving the time out to do really deep, productive work, and to do really high quality, good learning and development. And I think it's, you know, when you're in a leadership role, there's always demands on your time. You know, people want to talk to you about things, people want to share information with you. So I guess I'm still on a learning journey with this one. You know, I don't know that I can crack this one. But sometimes what I put to myself is that actually if I don't do it, my team aren't going to do it. And so I have to role model that for them. So one of the things I've been trying to do, you know, in my current role, Fridays tend to be a quieter day. You know, I've got a few people on my team who work part-time, so they don't work Fridays. You know, there's not as many meetings on a Friday. So actually Friday's my day for really deep, productive work. And I just try not to take meetings on a Friday. And with learning and development, you know, it's always really easy to talk yourself out of learning and development opportunities. And I know myself that I don't do my best learning and development going on a course. So it's about, you know, carving out the 45 minutes to listen to a podcast, or taking 10 minutes to read an article, or even just spending time talking to somebody that you wouldn't normally talk to. So one of the things I really love about where I work at the minute is we have an organization-wide scheme called random networking. So once a month, we get an email in our inbox and says you've been matched with, you know, such and such. And that can be anybody from the chair of the organization to, you know, somebody working as an administrator. And it's just a 30-minute chat to find out, you know, who they are, what they do. And you just end up
love that.
Brilliant conversations with people that you wouldn't normally talk to. Or even, you know, my most recent one was with a guy called Tom, and Tom and I worked on a really intensive project together a couple of months ago, where, you know, we probably talked every day for 4 months, and then the project finished and we moved on to the next thing. And we just had half an hour to chat. And, you know, I found out also, you know, he used to be a philosophy teacher, and, you know, just his life story and what he worked in. And it's just so interesting to find out about people and to have that space to do it.
Yes, to get to know each other. I love that. It's a great initiative. Well done. Amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's lovely. We are almost at the end. This is just a 20-30 minutes chat. Before we finish, I have 2 questions for you that I would love to hear your answer. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Right, so I think I probably have 2 pieces of advice for my younger self. The first is always trust your gut instinct. So I've had a couple of times in my life where I've had a gut instinct about something, and I've taught myself out because I've gone, oh, it'll cost me more money to do that, or logistically it's harder to do that. And every time it has gone really wrong. So I think something about trusting my own instincts. And the second part is just to keep yourself healthy. Do the things that you need to do to keep your body and your mind healthy. So do the exercise, drink the water, take your vitamins, you know, don't scroll on your phone at midnight. You know,
which we all do. Yeah.
We all do it, yeah, but you can't pour from an empty cup. And you know, I know that sounds a bit cliche, but I've had an experience in my life where, you know, I wasn't doing all the things that I should have been. And then, you know, somebody in my life got really sick and I didn't have the resilience to support them then because I was, you know, I hadn't looked after myself. So that was a really harsh lesson for me, but it has meant that I've built in those healthy habits and, you know, I've got a list of 5 things that I have to do every day to keep me healthy. And if I don't do them, I really start to feel it quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a powerful advice. It's the self-care that we forget so easily with our busy work, with life, with work, family, friends, shopping, everything, education, careers. And it's too much at some point, and we forget the most important thing, which is our self-care. So that's a great advice. And you've shared a couple of insights about leadership. Do you have one step, one action that those that will listen, that are listen live or that will listen on the replay, one action that you would like them to feel inspired to take once they listen to this chat?
Well, I'm a project manager by profession, and so I always have a plan, and that's my piece of advice. So I always think, no matter what you want, whether it's that you want a new car or you want to, you know, you want a promotion at work, think about what that looks like. So think about what it is that you want. What will it look like and feel like, and how will you think and feel when you're there? And then think about the steps that you need to take to get there and break it down into small, manageable pieces, whether it's something you have to do every day or every other day or once a week or whatever it is, and hold yourself really accountable to that plan. And sometimes life comes at you and things change. Yeah. But if you've got the plan, then you can always replan the plan.
Yeah, exactly. You can always recalibrate and adjust your plan, which is true. So I love that. So advice, always have a plan. But I love the part because I do believe it's important. Think about what you want, feel it, because the feeling is also very important. Feel as you have it, and then start to think, what's the journey, the steps? It's almost like being there in that place and then look back, what do I need to do to get there, and plan it in small things, and you will get there. Thank you, Karen. It was lovely to have you here. And to everyone, if you are listening live, thank you for being here. And if you're listening to the replay as well, thank you very much. If you have any questions, just reach out to us, either me or Karen, comment, and we will get back to you. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.